Welcome to the 11th episode of First Edition, the all things comics, film, and pop culture web show. I'm George, and I've got a great show lined up for you today. First, in comics, film, and pop culture news, and probably one of the greatest behind-the-scenes cinematic twists of this decade, Marvel Studios and Sony Studios have agreed to share Spider-Man in their films. That means Spider-Man will likely be appearing in an Avengers Age of Ultron cameo and make a full appearance in Captain America Civil War. He will then star in his own Marvel solo film in July of 2017. And he is also likely to be a main player in the Avengers Infinity War films. What's so incredible about this deal is that it seems to have been in the works for a long time, but was primarily rumors and smoke and mirrors until the Sony email leaks shed some light on the genuine prospect of a Marvel-Sony deal. So what does this mean for Marvel's recently announced films? Well, 4 films, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and the Inhumans release dates have each been pushed back. There's also the question of who will suit up as Spider-Man. Will it be the original hero Peter Parker, or newcomer and fan favorite Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man? This deal has huge implications for not only Marvel and Sony, but also the future of Marvel's other wayward heroes, such as the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. But could we also see potential Marvel and DC crossovers? Only time will tell on this one. Next up, Stan Sakai's beloved Rabbit Ronin returns to his Dark Horse ongoing series with May 2015's Usagi Yojimbo number 145, after a 3-year hiatus. The story is to pick up where it left off, with Usagi mixed up in a battle for a mysterious stolen scroll. For those unfamiliar with Usagi Yojimbo, he is a master of the sword whose adventures take him far and wide as he meets both friend and foe on his journeys. He is also a recurring and fan-favorite character who has joined forces with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is where I first became a fan of the Rabbit hero. As a huge fan of Yojimbo and his adventures, I'm looking forward to his and Sakai's return to the regular series. Look for Dark Horse Comics' Usagi Yojimbo number 145 in comics retailers this May of 2015. And one of the biggest announcements to come from the Secret Wars crossover is that the Ultimate Universe is ending. The Ultimate Universe debuted back in the early 2000s with updated versions of Marvel's classic heroes. The beloved imprint has lasted over a decade and has brought fans new and exciting characters and reimagined storylines. Some highlights of the Ultimate line include Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's original Ultimate Spider-Man run, the reimagined Ultimates, the introduction of the Marvel Zombies, the death of Peter Parker, and the debut of fan-favorite successor Miles Morales. Unfortunately, the Ultimate line fell victim to the very thing it was supposed to avoid, which is an even more convoluted history than the original Marvel Universe. While I greatly enjoyed a lot of the stories and character interpretations, I can understand why Marvel is ending the Ultimate Universe. I'm sad to see it go, but that doesn't mean it's the end for some of its characters. I definitely see characters like Ultimate Nick Fury, Iron Man, Invisible Woman, and of course Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man, surviving the event. Look for the residents of the Ultimate Universe in Secret Wars number 1 in comic shops and retailers May 1st of 2015 from creative team of writer Jonathan Hickman and artist Esad Ribic with cover art from Alex Ross. Another adaptation I'm really excited for is Enormous. Fans of giant monsters overtaking the Earth will definitely be clamoring for the adaptation of 215 Inc.'s comic book series Enormous from writer Tim Daniel and artist Manish Shigor. Enormous follows a young woman who is a survivor in a world overrun by titanic mutated beasts. There is little hope for humanity in this series, especially when man has plummeted to the bottom of the food chain. 20th Century Fox and New Regency have made a joint effort to bring Enormous to television. While I'll admit I'm disappointed the series was adapted for television instead of film due to the many shortcomings of television, I'm also happy that the series is receiving the attention it deserves because it's a really great story. This project is in the earliest stages of development, but with so many comic book properties on the fast track, expect to see news of enormous development in the very near future. And in other film news, fans of the classic Mad Max films have even more to be excited about this year. Not only will Mad Max return to the big screen on May 15th of 2015 in the film Mad Max Fury Road starring Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, but he's also getting his comic adaptations to coincide with the film. DC Comics' Vertigo imprint will release 4 prequel comics: Mad Max Fury Road Nux and Immortum Joe #1, Mad Max Fury Road Furiosa #1, and Mad Max Fury Road Mad Max #1 and 2. Producer George Miller co-writes the prequels with Nico Lathouris and artist Mark Sexton. There is also a hardcover art book being released featuring artwork from the film called Mad Max Fury Road Inspired Artists, and will feature the extraordinary works of over 65 artists, including Stephanie Harris, Cliff Chang, and Lee Bermejo. Look for Inspired Artists to hit shelves May 6th, with the film Mad Max Fury Road hitting theaters May 15th, and the first of the prequel comics to hit shelves starting May 20th. The final piece of news on my list is DC's massive event called Convergence. While Marvel's most ambitious comic project yet is coming this May with Secret Wars, DC is also bringing the heat with an earth-shattering event of their own. Coming April of 2015 and spinning out of the year-long Futures End series is DC's 2-month weekly series Convergence. While DC is keeping their cards close to the vest on this project, what we do know is that Brainiac is a major threat and has captured alternate DC Universe heroes and has brought them all together for an experiment on a universal scale that only Brainiac could accomplish. Convergence is spearheaded by writer Jeff King, and this series will also spawn new series along with new creative talent joining DC's ranks such as Ming Doyle, Brian Hitch, Garth Ennis, and Jean Lun Yang. This series is also gaining traction with fans because it promises the return of the pre-New 52 universe in a big way. Cryptically, this event is also said to end the New 52 line, but not the continuity it has created. So the New 52 continuity will continue to move forward. I'm excited to see what DC has up their sleeves, and I'm hoping it leads to even bigger things at DC. Convergence begins this April of 2015. And now for comics reviews. The first comic up for review is Marvel's Star Wars #1. As a huge fan of Star Wars, my expectations were probably a little too high, especially since I've read so many incredible stories from the previous publisher, Dark Horse Comics. I was sad to see the property leave Dark Horse Comics because they've created so many great stories, but Marvel's also known for some of their own stories that are the stuff of legend, so I'm excited to see what they can do now that they've regained the publishing license. This new series is brought to us from the star creative team of writer Jason Aaron, artist John Cassaday, colorist Laura Martin, and letterer Chris Eliopoulos. The story takes place after the events of the first Star Wars film and prior to the film The Empire Strikes Back. And I'll start by saying my expectations were met and exceeded. Aaron crafts an adventure worthy of the Star Wars mythos and truly captures the look and feel of the classic films. The story instantly takes us to the beloved galaxy far, far away with the same familiar heroes we know and love who are on a high-stakes mission inside enemy territory. Aaron's dialogue and characterizations are spot on, and I think the only noticeable change was how confident Luke Skywalker seemed with his new Jedi abilities, which were still fairly nascent after the conclusion of A New Hope, but he wields the lightsaber with a lot of confidence. Cassaday's art is another highlight of this comic. Cassaday is known for his kinetic panel layouts and attention to detail, and he brings both of those attributes to Star Wars. I'm a huge Cassaday fan, and his renditions of the original heroes and the faraway galaxy in this comic are instant classics. Cassaday also does the cover art on this one, which is a very cool group shot of the original heroes ready for action. Variant chasers will also have a field day trying to collect the seemingly endless variant covers for this comic. Overall, this comic adaptation was definitely the one I was hoping for, and I think fans will be pleased. This is going to be a huge year for Star Wars fans, and Marvel's Star Wars #1 kicks things off in a big way. Next up, I read Boom Studios' Big Trouble in Little China #7. This was one comic I wanted to read from the beginning, but didn't get a chance to until now. As a huge fan of 80s era genre films, and especially the works of director John Carpenter, Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorite films, so when I found out the story would be continued in comics, I absolutely had to read it. I was also really happy to find out that director John Carpenter would be overseeing and contributing to the story. The new stories are brought to fans from both John Carpenter and Eric Powell, and written by Powell, with art from Brian Chirilla, colorist Lisa Moore, and letterer Ed Dukeshire. Jack Burton returns, along with his warrior friend Wang, bringing with them all of the quirky, obscene, and endearing traits from the films. Egg Shin also returns to combat the evil of Lopan. I really enjoyed this quirky action story that evokes all of the humor of the classic films. To Powell's credit, his characterizations are spot on, and his story and dialogue are as hilarious as the original film. Powell not only writes, but also does a fantastic job on the cover art, which highlights the famed truck driver and hero Jack Burton and his enemies, the Lords of Death. Chirilla is also a great fit for the interior art of the comic, as he brings the script to life with his frenetic illustrations that are packed with energy and humor. This is a good time to be a fan of 80s properties because they're making a full comeback, and I'm very excited to say that Boom's Big Trouble in Little China brings the 80s back in a big way. Another comic I read was Dark Horse's Prometheus Fire and Stone #4 of 4. I am a longtime fan of the Aliens and Predator licensed comics that Dark Horse has produced for many years, and since Prometheus has joined their collective comics universe, I wanted to learn more about this mysterious newer franchise. This series is written by Paul Tobin with Juan Ferreira on illustrations, coloring from Eduardo Ferreira, and lettering from Nate Picos, and cover art from David Palumbo. In the final chapter of the Prometheus miniseries, everything goes to hell in a handbasket, with the last survivors of the Geryon Armada fighting for survival against a xenomorph infestation. Tobin's finale is a fast-paced slaughterfest with a lot of moving pieces in this issue. There are a lot of interesting moments in this issue also. Unfortunately, the issue ends with a lot of unanswered questions, which makes this series feel a little bit incomplete. And Ferreira's illustrations are hauntingly beautiful. Even the gruesome deaths have a picturesque quality to them. Palumbo's cover illustration also evokes the darkness of the series and is a striking prelude for the carnage in this final issue. Overall, this storyline opens doors to the expanding Aliens, Predator, and Prometheus series, and I would love to explore future Prometheus stories. If you can't wait until the Prometheus 2 film arrives in theaters, this comic series offers entertaining stories worthy of the first film and a good primer for the next. Next up is Marvel's Amazing Spider-Man #12. This issue is part 4 in the massive Spider-Verse storyline. This storyline has been a roller coaster ride, with the Spider-Men and women of the Marvel multiverse fighting a losing war against a seemingly invincible threat. This issue is written by Dan Slott, with Giuseppe Camuncoli on art duties, Cam Smith does the inking, and Justin Ponzer on coloring. This issue picks up where it left off, with the surviving spiders devastated after their haven is destroyed by the father of the inheritors, and their most powerful fighter drained of his life energies. It just goes from bad to worse for the spider heroes in this issue, with many more spiders falling before the inheritors. Slott continues to infuse this massive story with tragedy, excitement, and humor. There are a lot of great moments in this issue, especially with the arrival of one very unique spider hero from Japan and his giant robot fighting machine Leopardon. Unfortunately, as cool as it is seeing the spider heroes fight for survival, I would like to see the story advance more. So far it has been a repeat of the same beats from issue to issue in the storyline. Kaminkole's art is visceral and detailed, perfectly capturing the tone of this grim story. He also does humor very well, as I really enjoyed seeing the Ultimate Spider Team's dimension jumps. Olivier Coipel's gritty cover illustration is also a very cool, macabre take on what goes for a family photo in the Inheritors family. This continues to be a great storyline, and I'm very excited to read what happens next as the spider heroes continue their fight against the greatest threat to their existence. Last on my list is IDW's Super Secret Crisis War number 5. The penultimate issue and the Colossal Cartoon Network crossover packs a lot of action into every panel. Super Secret Crisis War is written by Louise Simonson, with cover and interior art from Derek Charm and lettering from Tom B. Long. What I love about IDW and this series in particular is that they're not only reviving the classic Cartoon Network cartoons I loved as a kid in comic format, but also bringing them together in a shared cartoon universe. It was great seeing Dexter teaming up with the Powerpuff Girls and even Samurai Jack. Simonson does a great job of crafting an adventure worthy of all these famed 90s and 2000 cartoon heroes. It was like sitting down and watching these cartoons again, only better because we get interactions I never thought I'd see, like Mojo Jojo joining forces with Ed, Edd and Eddy. Mojo Jojo is my favorite character of all of these cartoons, and it was great seeing him side by side with the heroes for once. My only criticism is that there are so many characters in this story that some seem to have less to do. Unfortunately, this is what happens to Samurai Jack, who is at best a background character in this installment of the story. Charm's cover and interior art are maybe the most important aspect of reviving these heroes, as his illustrations perfectly capture each individual cartoon hero's animation style. Charm's efforts, along with Simonson's scripting, come together to make this the perfect adventure for all of these classic cartoon heroes, and I'm looking forward to the finale of this huge storyline. And now for Cover the Cover. On this segment of Cover the Cover, I'll discuss the classic cover for Star Wars number 1 from 1977. An interesting fact about this comic is that it came out before the film release, which the creative team had only minimal information on, which based on the cover, you can see some subtle differences, like Darth Vader's more alien-like look, Princess Leia's darker wardrobe color, and the red lightsabers that both Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi wield. This issue came out in July of 1977 and was written by Roy Thomas and illustrated by Howard Chaykin. Chaykin is a prolific creator who has done both writing and illustrating work on high-profile works for both Marvel and DC, including his own creative works. His gritty and realistic style are showcased on this seminal cover. Chaykin captures the explosive aspects of this blockbuster space fantasy. There is a lot of action and detail packed into this cover, with Han Solo blasting, X-Wing and TIE fighters zooming across the cover, Luke Skywalker standing front and center with lightsaber at the ready, and the ominous stare of Darth Vader and the threat of the Death Star looming in the background. Another very cool detail about this cover is the massive Star Wars logo and bombastic lettering that all come together in eye-popping detail. Chaykin's masterful illustration is a perfect primer for the adventure to come in this explosive action cover, and is one of my favorite Star Wars comics and covers. And now to end the show with a new segment of Top 5. On this segment of Top 5, I'll discuss my 5 characters to watch in Marvel's upcoming universe-changing event, Secret Wars. Number 5 on my list is Thor. The new Thor is making waves at Marvel and is set to play a major role in the Secret Wars. After the original Thor became unworthy to wield the hammer Mjolnir, a mysterious female Thor emerged to take his place. Her identity and origin are still a mystery, but Marvel is planning big things for the heroine. I'm looking forward to learning more about this new Thor and her role in the Marvel Universe post-Secret Wars. Miss Marvel is another breakout star character that has gained a huge fan base, with myself included. Kamala Khan is a very unique heroine. She is a quirky superhero fangirl who just so happens to have latent superhero abilities that manifest, giving her incredible abilities and leading to her becoming the new Miss Marvel. What I found so endearing about Kamala is her goofiness and kind-heartedness. Her first instinct isn't to rip her enemies apart. She uses restraint and has empathy for friend and foe alike. This new Miss Marvel has developed a huge fan base of fans who recognize her uniqueness. Moving forward, Marvel has shown that Miss Marvel will have a part to play in the Secret Wars, so I'm hoping she steps up in a big way. Number 3 on my list is Wolverine. Officially, Wolverine is dead, but Secret Wars promotions have displayed alternate versions of Wolverine in action. James Logan Howlett is the fan-favorite mutant hero who has served on seemingly countless teams, but is known first and foremost for his membership with the X-Men. He recently met his demise in the pages of The Death of Wolverine, but that won't stop Marvel from including the many other versions of him in the Secret Wars. Number 2 on my list is Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man. Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, is Marvel's flagship hero and is always a key figure in Marvel's events, so his inclusion in Marvel's most high-profile event ever is a no-brainer. Coming off the heels of his own major event with Spider-Verse, he has little breathing room before he enters the Secret Wars. He is also riding high off the incredible news that he'll be joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that will also impact the future of his comic appearances. He also features prominently in the main Secret Wars art and some of the Marvel teasers, including Civil War and Renew Your Vows. Plus, who can forget that Spider-Man had a huge role in the original Secret Wars and the discovery of the black costume that would shake the pillars of his history. So I can only guess that there may be another huge discovery to come for Marvel's greatest hero. There are a lot of unknowns about what's to come for the Marvel Universe with the impending Secret Wars, but one thing's for certain, is that Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, will be at the heart of this event. Number 1 on my list is Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man. He's number 1 on my list because no one else has more to gain from the Secret Wars than Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man. With the end of the Ultimate Universe coming, there are some heroes who have made a mark and have earned a place in the main Marvel Universe. And then there is Miles Morales, who is in a league of his own. After the death of the Ultimate Universe Peter Parker, Miles Morales came forward with his own spider abilities and has continued the fight as the new Ultimate Spider-Man. Morales has developed a huge fan base as he has stood side by side with Peter Parker on numerous occasions and has earned himself a place as one of the greatest Spider-Men in Spider history. And many of his fans are hoping that there's a place for Morales in the main universe with the coming of the Secret Wars. There are also the rumors that Morales may be the Spider-Man to be suiting up in the upcoming Marvel films, which is a huge thing as he is a relatively new character, but just as respected as the original Spider-Man also. Whatever happens with the Ultimate Universe, I definitely see a place for Miles Morales in the main Marvel Universe, and I look forward to big things from Miles in the future. Well, that's it for another webisode of First Edition, the all things comics, film, and pop culture web show. Thanks for watching, and I really appreciate your support.